Christmas, everybody, or happy holidays, however you're choosing to celebrate this December 25th. At least that's when we're dropping the show. Maybe you're watching this later on in your weekend, but nevertheless, we are sending you some festive thoughts and good wishes during this season. And we are dropping this episode, a pre-recorded episode of Mornings with the Outlaw. This is not live. I am one of your hosts. I am the Outlaw, John Rocha, joined as always by the very festive Alex Shashek. How are you, Alex?
I am having a hard time trying to decide whether or not I'm going to be naughty or nice tonight. So,
oh, look at that.
We're going to decide here very soon for this. I'm so excited to chat this. I know, for anyone watching this, I know this is not exactly our usual format, but we want to do something a little bit different. And this is like low-key a Christmas present for John and I. So
yeah, absolutely. Alex kind of came up with this. We were banding about ideas, and I thought it was a really great one. We are going to do 3 fantasy drafts. If you saw the title of the video, 3 fantasy drafts, top 5 picks each of the best Santa ever, the best Santas ever, the best Christmas movies, and the best non-traditional Christmas movies. So we'll be selecting them and going back and forth on them and deciding which ones are the best ones to do and to take. And we will fight it out and, not necessarily battle necessarily, unless someone takes someone's choice. There'll be I'm sure there'll be some interactions and some bruised feelings depending on who chooses what where. But that's how we're going to go about doing this. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I can't wait to get into it between the two of us and haggle these categories out. And hopefully you all have your ideas and your thoughts and comments on the choices that we make. What's going on?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For some reason, when I completed my list, I completely misread your text, and I put down the 3 lists being 5 holiday rom-coms, the 5 Santas, and 5 non-conventional movies. So I prepped my list incorrectly, but that's okay. But that's totally okay.
You know what?
They overlap quite a bit. So.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Is it me? Did I send the message wrong?
No, you totally had it right. For some reason, I had in my head, I totally read it as holiday rom-coms in particular.
Right on.
And I don't know why, but that's okay. I don't know why, It's all good. It was my bad.
All right. Well, do you have at least the first category? Do you have the top 5 Santas?
Top 5 Santas. Okay, this is my first draft pick.
You get first
top 5 Santas. And I am going with a very recent holiday movie. It's a movie that I think will become a holiday classic for years to come. And it is Klaus from Klaus.
Oh, no! Nice voice. Damn it.
Voiced by none other than the absolutely wonderful J.K. Simmons. And it's absolutely wonderful. It's heartfelt. It's beautiful. The animation is stunning. And it's one of those movies where I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're a kid, if you're an adult, no matter what age, gender, whatever it might be, you're going to find this movie and still appreciate it. And there's so much to love about it.
Yeah. It's a great
Especially this version of Santa.
It's a great choice. I love Klaus. It's one of my favorite films that I've recently discovered in the Christmas put in the Christmas rotation. It is just so much fun, and it is also a very poignant film with some very tough emotional moments in the movie when you're watching it, but also some uplifting moments as well. So if you haven't discovered it, was nominated for Best Animated Feature in 2019. So if you haven't. Yeah, and lost. It did lose, which you can argue if it should or shouldn't have. But you can watch it on Netflix. It is a Netflix produced film, so it's not going anywhere. So you can watch it on Netflix anytime. And if you haven't watched it yet and you're looking for some movies to watch, Klaus is certainly one of them. All right, so that's your number 1 choice for the best Santa Claus ever. All right, so then my first round choice is Ed Asner as Santa Claus in Elf. I love Ed Asner as Santa Claus and Elf. He's so great. He tells it like it is. It may be tough to hear it sometimes, but he tells it like it is. But he's always got a great group of elves working for him. But you know, he adopts Buddy. He brings him up as one of his own there in the North Pole, and then you know, in the end, tells him who his dad is, and is honest that he's a naughty guy, and so Buddy has to go and figure all that out. And then later, it is Ed Asner who shows up later, Santa Claus, to bring Christmas cheer to everybody after they start singing and everything like that. So I love his Santa Claus. He's my favorite.
He's definitely one of my favorite parts of a movie I don't like, but I definitely respect that answer 100%. Right. I'm excited, but I am also so much more grateful you didn't pick my next draft pick for Santas.
Which is
1994's Miracle on 34th Street, Richard Attenborough. Woo!
Oh, nice choice. Nice choice. All right. And why is that one your second choice?
Second choice. Well, I have seen the original, and I think it's like the original. I think it was made in the 40s, I want to say.
Yeah.
And it's a really solid movie. I love it. But the 94 version, you know, it's much more sentimental to me. It's the first film of that particular, you know, Miracle on 34th Street, you know, franchise. It's not a franchise remakes that I saw, and then I ended up going back and rewatching a handful. But that's one I go back to so much more. And not to mention Richard Attenborough. He's just such a wonderful adaptation of Kris Kringle. He's warm, he's comforting, he's absolutely delightful and ridiculous at times, but he's everything that you kind of want like a grandpa to be, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. I respect that. I respect that. Well, I'm also very glad you didn't take my second choice. Ironically, it is the original Miracle on 34th Street. Edmund Gwynn is a fantastic Santa in the original, to the very young Natalie Wood at the time when that film came out. It is a film that I've recently discovered on TCM over the last 5 years. I had kind of resisted it for many, many years in my life, but then I finally watched it, and it was just a delight. Absolutely charming. A lot more harder than I anticipated that it was going to be. And that ending is a very, it's a cheesy ending, but it's an ending that actually works, and it's earned through what they've done in the movie. The great Maureen O'Hara, of course, playing Natalie Wood's mom in that one, and what you discover about it. And the court scene is so great. The pulling on the whiskers, all of it is just so delightful to see. And I love it to pieces. So that's why it's my second choice. All right. What's your number 3?
All right. I was kind of iffy on choosing this one because I don't know if it was released in theaters or not, but it is definitely an interpretation of Santa that I grew up loving and I watch every single year. And that is Kris Kringle, specifically from the Santa Claus is Coming to Town film.
Oh, yes.
Yes, it's a stop motion movie. I believe it was like released in the early 70s at some point. It was really popular on TV for a while. I don't know if technically it was released at theaters. I wasn't sure what the boundaries of this was.
Right.
But
no, it works. It works.
Yeah. It's so wonderful. Mickey Rooney, he actually voices Kris Kringle, Santa Claus, and, you know, Fred Astaire, he ends up being the special delivery, you know, Steve Kluger. And it's really great. This really interesting, really beautiful, adorable, heartwarming origin story of Santa Claus. And it's honestly, even though it was a stop motion movie at that time where it shouldn't work, it still holds the F up. It does. It's fantastic.
Well, you know, they reserve the term classic for programs like that, and certainly those Rankin Bass TV films were the things I grew up with and enjoyed and loved, and I will never begrudge you. It is on my list. You took it off my list. I certainly had Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and so it's such a great interpretation of Santa. You're right. Mickey Rooney does a fantastic job with the voice, and Fred Astaire as the mailman there, introducing the whole story. So good, and it's about the story of how Santa Claus became Santa Claus. So it's just a great trip. If you haven't watched these Rankin and Bass ones and you think, oh, they're dated, they're old, I'm not going to watch them, they're from the 70s, you're really missing out. As Alex said, those things hold up and they're really, really good. So if you can watch Star Wars from the 70s, you can certainly watch Santa Claus is Coming to Town. So
thing is, one of the only things that's unfortunate about it is that it's not easy to come by because it
You're
doesn't
right.
really, it doesn't come up on TV all that much. And I don't personally have cable, so I would have to purposely buy it. And it's not available, from what I saw, it's not available like on Amazon or Netflix or anything, unfortunately.
Right.
So I'm hoping, I've been trying to find it in recent weeks, but I'm just keep thinking maybe it's available on a service I just don't have yet. Maybe.
That's
So
certainly
fingers crossed. That's the only bad thing about it, unfortunately.
all right. Well, that's a great third choice. Absolutely, Alex. And I'm surprised you haven't chosen this one, but I'm also grateful because I'm putting it at my number 3, and that is Tim Allen in Santa Claus. The Santa Claus. I like the Santa Claus. I think it's a very sweet film. However you feel about Tim Allen now, and some people have their feelings about Tim Allen now. Back then, it was such a good movie, and he does a fantastic job. And he's very sweet in the whole movie. He's kind of a guy who kills Santa Claus by scaring him, not thinking that it's real. And he's
not malicious.
Not malicious. You're right. Not malicious.
It's not like murder.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But he puts on the coat, and because he puts on the coat in a playful way, he is now officially Santa Claus. And throughout the year, he is being groomed to be Santa Claus. He resisted at first. They think it's all ridiculous, but his son and his family like eventually come around on this. And as he starts to gain weight progressively through the year, he starts to realize that this is a real thing and that he has a responsibility to be Santa Claus. The sequels you can like or not like, but this one really has a certain charm to it. I think Tim Allen showing you that why people enjoyed him so much in the 90s. And, Toy Story was just a few years away. And, he said sitcoms and whatever, Home Improvements. But really, this film is the one that was like, oh, Tim Allen can actually be a movie star as well for these kinds of films. And I think he does a fantastic job here. And shout out to David Krumholtz, who plays the lead elf, which some of you may recognize from other TV shows as well.
One of my favorite characters from the entire franchise, though, if anything, it is what's his name? It's a Martin Short who ends up
Jack
being.
Frost? You talking about Jack Frost?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, he is hilarious. I'm like, man, I shouldn't be laughing this much, but he's so funny. He's just like, he is just having so much fun with it. He's like being ridiculous. It's kind of like when him and Steve Martin, they voiced the temple dudes from Prince of Egypt, and they're just having a gas, behind the scenes. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. All right, Alex, what is your number 4 choice for the best Santa in movies or TV?
It's because you did actually take mine. I'm like,
yeah, I knew this was going to happen. That's why I selected 10. That's why
this is okay. This was going to be an honorable mention, but you know what? We're moving it up. We are totally moving it up. Okay. Right. Whew, okay. Santa from Rise of the Guardians.
Oh, Alec Baldwin.
Yes. He's tattooed, and it's great, and it's so weird. It's like a new version of Santa I didn't know I needed in my life. It's the animation is absolutely stunning. It is a Christmas story, even though it doesn't focus on Santa specifically as a character all that much. He's a side character, but he's weird and funny. He has this biker gruff thing going on with a heart of gold, and it's so wonderful.
Yeah, no
Naughty
doubt.
and nice over tattooed on his arms. It's gold. It's gold. I love it.
I think he's named Nicholas P. Klaus as well, and he got a Russian accent, and so random. But yes, he was on my list as well. So you took one off my list again. But a great choice, and I think Rise of the Guardians. Zack Snyder directed, I think, Rise of the Guardians as well. So that's an interesting.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
I know he did. No, he did the owl one. Right.
Oh, that's right. No, I'm sorry. You're right.
Animated owl movie. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Sorry about that. I'm still a bit rusty now, out of practice. Yeah, Peter Ramsey. That's the one. Peter Ramsey directed this one. But look, it's got Chris Pine, Alec Baldwin, Jude Law,
Jackman.
Hugh Jackman, Isla Fisher. So certainly a
Mhm.
top-heavy cast throughout this thing, and a very interesting combination of voices and characters. It's not a bad movie
Mhm.
if you haven't seen this one.
It's
Uh,
also very purposefully an international movie
yes.
for being a Christmas movie. It's very like Hugh Jackman, he voices an Australian Easter bunny.
Yeah.
Isla Fisher, she voices like an Icelandic tooth fairy, and Iceland is like a thing where like fairies are still like very beloved in that culture apparently, and it's like a whole thing. And I'm like, you know what? You put a lot of thought into this, and I appreciate that. So good job, good
I
job.
appreciate you. All right, let's see what my number 4 choice here. Oh yeah, I am gonna take, and I was surprised this got here, but there's a reason for it. I just have a certain affinity for Paul Giamatti, and I love him in Fred Claus. Now, Fred Claus, not the greatest of Christmas films, but
Yeah.
certainly an enjoyable one. And I like the chemistry between Paul Giamatti and Vince Vaughn. Paul Giamatti is a Santa who has an efficiency expert that is coming, but at the same time, he's also agreed to help his brother out, who is the titular Fred Claus, who owes $50,000. And so he says, "I'll give you the money." Santa Claus says that to Fred, "I'll give you the money, but you've got to come work alongside the elves." And chaos ensues, as you would expect with Vince Vaughn coming to the North Pole to work with the elves. But Giamatti is so sweet, so vulnerable, so just a charming Santa Claus overall. And you feel his pain, you feel his love for his brother, and you feel the stress that he's under. And Giamatti does a fantastic job, and that's why he's my number 4 pick.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a very justified thing. I mean, watching that movie, my favorite parts of it was definitely Paul Giamatti, again, a character, an actor that's clearly having so much fun with the movie, and Vince Vaughn, he's hilarious. He's not in very many comedies that age well.
Right. Oh
And this
yeah.
is like one, and this is like one of the few comedies that he is actually in that actually ages like pretty well, all things
Yeah.
considering. So, and I think a lot of that is contributed to Paul Giamatti bringing a certain lightness to the conversation and character.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So, what's your final choice in this
All
fantasy
right.
draft of
All
Santas?
right. This is a controversial choice. This
Oh,
really is.
all right.
It's because I had I had many a conversation about this. Okay. Santa Claus from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, it's on my list. I don't
I
think this is
know.
a controversial choice at all. It's a good choice.
I have had conversations being like, "Oh, is this considered acceptable? He's barely in it." But let's be honest, I think this movie really brings, as well as a lot of Christmas movies in general, really have a inherent darkness and tone,
Yeah.
and this idea that you are learning to grow up, you are learning to deal with consequences, you are learning how you affect others, whatever the situation is. And that is the real focus of this movie, Number for Christmas. And obviously, it's very focused on Jack Skellington's growth more than anything. But Santa Claus, him trying to embody this idea of Santa Claus, and Santa Claus is, he's not perfect, obviously, but he's such a weird, jolly guy. But at the same time, he also is kind of clearly finicky, and he's annoying, and he feels somehow kind of human compared to a lot of the other characters.
Yeah.
Because he's not everything that we thought he would be. He's so much more than that. He's a human in a claymation movie.
I love it. That's a great choice. Absolutely. I had it on my list. So as one of the possible selections. So you took it right off that list, and I respect it. That's a good choice. And it is. And you're right. And because he's a very much like, "Jack, that's enough. You cut this out now." He's a very patient Santa, but he's also a Santa who will put the foot down when he needs to. And when Jack gets a little out of wing, he has to put him, kind of bring him back to normal. And he forgives Jack as well as Santa would, because Santa is a very caring person.
He's like a stern grandpa.
Yeah,
that's what he is. That's very stern, like kind of militaristic grandpa that still loves you, but wants what's best for you.
Exactly. Even when you can't see it. All right. So then my final choice for Best Santa, and I'm glad Alex did not name him, is Kurt Russell in the Christmas Chronicles. I absolutely have been enjoying watching this movie again. I haven't seen it in a bit, obviously, since last Christmas, I think. And I saw it recently over the weekend and just thoroughly loved the transition of Snake Plissken from Escape from New York 30, 40 years later being a Santa Claus.
So good.
And he's so good at it. The story's about these two kids that sneak onto Santa's sleigh. Santa's sleigh crashes. They've got to help him find his magical hat. They've got to help him keep track of all the presents, then find the reindeer, and then get it back on track so he can drop off all the presents. Kurt Russell does such a fantastic job. That beard works so well for him, and he doesn't have to be like a brutal Santa Claus. You get to see the Kurt Russell that I remember. Some of you might not remember Kurt Russell as a child or teen actor. He did a lot of made-for-TV Disney movies, and he was so charming in all of those. So to see him transition from that into Snake Plissken or The Thing or these harder films, and then all the way back out to coming back to having that kind of childlike quality or innocence to a Santa Claus was so great to see. So he's my final choice on our top 5 Santas for our respective lists in the fantasy draft here. So he's a great
Santa. I have to say it. Yeah. He's having fun. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. I've not seen the second one recently with Goldie Hawn, but I really want to see it just because I'm like, it's more Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. That's what I want. I want them together. Like, we're not going to get a sequel to Overboard or anything, obviously, like that. Right. Like, also, we don't really need that. Let's be honest. But this is like the next best thing, and I definitely need to make a priority to see it for sure.
I'm going to tell you this, Alex. I think we can call an audible and do the rom-coms. I've got some that fit for mine. So if you did that list, I can adjust my list to fit the Christmas rom-coms. So
if you're up to the task, my dude, if you are up for it, okay.
I'm up for this task.
All right.
But since you had first pick last time, I think I get first pick this time. I think, wouldn't you say?
Even better.
Okay.
Even better.
All right. Let me see. Let me
take
a look of what I've got. Now, these are rom-coms, so that means they have to have a certain level of humor in them and a certain level of love happening. So that obviously takes out, in my opinion, one of my favorite films ever. But I still have enough to work throughout this and connect this thing and make it possible for me to do so. Now, my first choice is a controversial choice, and I respect that now in retrospect, but I'm always going to defend this movie, even with the misogynistic barbs at it, even with all the attacks that it's endured over the last few years, and rightfully so. But I cannot remove the desire and love I have for Love Actually. That is my number one rom-com choice. There's so many great stories throughout this movie. And yes, is a little too male-oriented because it's from their point of view most of all. I totally exclusively. But we do get to see Emma Thompson's point of view for sure.
You're right, but also objectifying women, where also all the male characters that do find love are also in positions of power over the women.
Not over the women.
Literally. No, they are literally in positions of power over the woman. Alan Rickman having a potential relationship with his secretary.
Right, but
Colin Firth having a relationship with every single relationship is a man in power over the woman.
But how about Laura Linney, who turns down the hot man to go be with her brother?
All right. You know what? I stand corrected. That's the one relationship. That's the 1 out of 10 relationships that's displayed in the movies.
That's fair. I do, but I get the criticisms and I totally accept them. I really do. I do like that Colin Firth is the one that essentially goes to her work to get on his hands and knees, in essence, to ask her to marry him. I do agree with the Alan Rickman situation. I don't like Andrew Lincoln, essentially trying to steal his best friend's girl. That is a little, and her running out and kissing him. Whew, that would never happen. There are some issues, but I do love the joy of the kid, like the kid chasing the girl down and, Liam Neeson, like kind of guiding him through this whole thing and teaching him. So there are so many sweet moments throughout this movie that for me really works. And remember, it's the prime minister who has to go to her. So yes, these are men in positions of power, but every time they go to court their women or to ask them to be with them, they are in the submissive position in that situation. It's the prime minister who has to go and declare his love for her in front of everybody.
You're right. You're right, because
So,
she totally would have never been criticized if she turned down the prime minister on a date in public, in front of like hundreds, if not thousands, of people. Totally. But
millions,
I bet it's like millions of people. You're right, but no, that because it was actually anyway. Okay, I digress. But you're right. I mean, it's definitely a heartwarming movie. There's a lot of heartfelt moments that really make me happy, also sad. It's also like it has one of my favorite scenes of all, like in holiday movies in general, is actually in this movie, and that's the scene between Alan Rickman and Rowan Atkinson at the shop at the mall.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love Rowan Atkinson so much.
He's great.
He's hilarious. He's gold. I love it.
All right. So what's your number one choice, Alex?
Okay. Number one choice. And oh man, this is perfect. I'm so grateful for it. It is one of my favorite rom-coms of all time that just so happens to be a holiday movie. It is When Harry Met Sally.
Oh. All right. Yep.
It is by far, it is a movie that ages well. I do not know. I can't figure out how they make the money that they do in order to get their apartments, but that's a whole other conversation. Like it's like literally he has an apartment that's literally worth like $5 million in Manhattan, but whatever. And they're just casually not bringing it up at all. But it's a beautiful movie. The script holds the heck up. It's wonderful. It's also one of the best movies set in New York City, I would have to say.
Yeah.
And everyone is funny. The side characters of Bruno Kirby is hilarious. And, you can't forget, what's her name? Princess Leia. Oh, Shnikes.
Carrie Fisher.
My gosh. Yes, Carrie Fisher. I kept thinking of Carrie first, and I'm like, that's 100% not her name. But these are also conversations I feel like people have today. I've had with my husband, and that whole conversation that's still argued as well. Can men and women be friends, like actual just friends, without if they are heterosexual? I don't know. It's a hard argument. It really is.
I don't know. I think
it's a hard. I mean, like I think it is absolutely possible.
I'm friends with Roxy, and I've got no attraction to Roxy. She's great.
No, absolutely. I feel like this is a whole other thing. But you're not thing is I'm not gonna DM a random guy that I consider a friend at 3 a.m. and
Very true.
talking about my day. That's a different conversation versus something like this where I are chatting specifically for this, and it's it's almost like a work relationship.
Yep.
It's very, very different.
Yep. Agreed.
So
okay, good choice. Yeah. All right, my number two is I don't think a lot of people might forget that this does have a romantic comedy element to it, and that is Elf. Elf, with the relationship between Will Ferrell and Jovi, that is played by Zooey Deschanel. Their relationship as the film progresses is so sweet and so organic and so natural. You can tell from the beginning that she is like, you want, did you get a good look while you're up there? Like all of that, just kind of putting him off because she's probably been hit on by a bunch of dudes in New York who have no idea how to actually talk to a woman or just seeking one thing. And here comes the guy. She initially puts him off, but his sweetness, his earnestness, the things in his eye, the charming nature of his eyes, all of it kind of works its way and worms its way into her heart. And then they go out on that date, very sweet date between the both of them. And when she brings him to that Christmas tree, she's saying to him, oh, I get that these are the things that you like. Let me show you something that's really going to knock your socks off. So that's her first move towards him. And so it's a really sweet thing. And then of course they end up together at the end. And I just love the movie for that. It's a fantastic story of his journey to, kind of reacquaint himself with his father, but it's also a great rom-com as well. So it's able to work on both levels at the same time. So I love that.
I absolutely agree. It's solid. That's definitely something like I mentioned earlier, because I am not a huge fan of the movie in general, but the relationship in the movie I do like. Not to mention Zoe Deschanel. I'm so sad we don't see more of her. I know she's really been pigeonholed in this kind of cutesy rom-com girl, which is really unfortunate because she's so much more than that. But she is able to, it feels like a very genuine connection in the movie, and the romance is real.
Yep.
In that
absolutely.
one.
All right.
Yes. All
What's your
right.
next choice?
Oh, I'm gonna wait for that one. I'm gonna wait for this one. Okay, because there's two movies in particular that I don't want you to even get a hint that I'm gonna be going for. So I'm gonna wait for those later.
All
So
right.
I'm gonna go with another one. I'm moving what was formerly a number 5 and moving it on up to a number 2, and it is Bridget Jones' Diary.
Okay, that's all
It
you.
is. It's one of my favorite adaptations of Jane Austen, and I feel like these are not only relationships. I feel like it's very clear. It's a very truthful adaptation of the story. I read the book. It's very cute. I do think it's not a perfect movie, but it's a very incredibly relatable movie. I feel like every woman, as to some degree, has felt.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, she is, she's in a position where she's in love with one guy and another guy is in love with her. And she's going after the guy that treats her badly. And certainly I've spoken and had many female friends in my life through the years of my life. And so many of them have told me about their younger years when they went after the bad boy, or the guy that didn't like them or didn't treat them well, because they were kind of figuring out who they were and all of that. And so, and then eventually they figure out, oh, I should be with the guy who's actually nice to me and that I actually do have feelings for. And certainly that is there. And great performances throughout that movie with Renee Zellweger and Hugh Grant and Colin Firth. Just fantastic stuff all around. So great choice.
Overall, great chemistry all around as well. I mean, there's a reason why they made sequels, really bad sequels, but there's a reason why they're awful sequels. They're so bad. But there's a reason why the chemistry holds still.
Yeah, agreed. All right. My other one is a bit of a tougher one to throw into necessarily a romantic comedy, but it is a comedy. There is a rediscovering of this relationship. So my answer is Scrooged. I think that's a really funny movie, but the whole movie, the thing that saves him is rediscovering the connection he had with Karen Allen, the love he had for Karen Allen, who he walked away from when he was younger, and him going through the journey of the Christmas Carol throughout the movie brings him back to realize how important that relationship is in his life. And I think them reuniting is what inspires him to deliver that incredible speech at the end of the movie with Tiny Tim saying, "God bless us, everyone," and Alfred Woodard having an incredible reaction. So I think really one of the greatest speeches ever delivered on film, and that's my opinion, would not have the emotional weight or resonance if it wasn't also for the tragic nature of this lost relationship that he rediscovers as he discovers the importance of connecting with people you love, with your family, with friends, with humanity itself.
It's actually funny you say that, because before we decided to continue with the holiday rom-coms and we were talking about like just best holiday movies, I actually had Scrooged on my list. So, how dare you? I actually covered this movie on Cinema Bias last night. I saw it for the very first time over the weekend, and outside of one or two throwaway comments, I thought this movie really, really holds up. I was like, dude, like Ghost of Christmas Present, you get some. That is one horny ghost, absolutely. But but you're on point. I actually totally forgot about, like you said, even though I watched it so recent, I forgot about how much impact the romance, his relationship with Karen Allen's character has. And, the chemistry feels so real. And not to mention, she's absolutely stunning. And I've never been like attracted to Bill Murray before, but I was like, oh, I can get into this. He's absolutely delightful and hilarious. Physical comedy and how meta the movie is throughout is wonderful.
Absolutely. All right. So what's your number 3?
My number 3 is, I'm going to go with the Nora Ephron when I'm mixing it up. I'm going to go with The Holiday.
Oh, nice.
Jude Law, Jack Black, Cameron Diaz, Kate Winslet, score by Hans Zimmer. The script is fantastic. It's really wonderful. It ages incredibly well, and the chemistry feels real. So love it.
Yeah, great choice. I had an ex-girl or some girl a girl I was dating. Sorry, not some girl, but a girl I was dating a few years ago. This was one of her favorite movies. We happened to be dating around Christmas time, and I watched it for the first time. Thoroughly enjoyable film. Very enjoyable film. 1,000% agree with you. It's a great choice to put on, and people should discover this film. It's a nice switcheroo film that actually works and has some really good dialogue in it. So thoroughly. All right. So then my number 4 is the Sandra Bullock classic, While You Were Sleeping. While You Were Sleeping is one of my favorite films, bar none. Absolutely love it. It is during Christmas. It absolutely counts. And it is her, she's fallen in love supposedly with Peter Gallagher's character, who's in a coma because he got hit by the train or something happened there. He fell on his head and got hit by. So she creates this scenario that she has been his girlfriend for all this time. His family falls in love with her, but his actual girlfriend is the actress from The Profiler, that NBC show, and she is kind of a mean person, which shows you that Peter Gallagher wasn't the nicest person. But the whole time while this is happening, Peter Gallagher's brother, Bill Pullman, is falling in love with Sandra Bullock. And so this all leads to a very, very sweet ending. And I can't recommend this one enough. There was a time when Sandy was the queen of rom-coms, and this is one of those things that helped her achieve that title, movies that helped her achieve that title.
I liked how you created, you kind of reworded something where she created the scenario. She lied. She lied. She lied to him. She lied to her family in order to get her way, because she put him on this pedestal that he was this beautiful. And let's face it, I'm not saying she's a gold digger, obviously, but at the same time, she is clearly looking to change up her situation. Okay, I'm just being perfectly honest. And the romance between her and Bill Pullman, girl, why do you want Peter Gallagher? Bill Pullman is right there. Go get you some, okay? But go get you some. But it's a very sweet movie. I don't think it's a movie that holds up, honestly.
Wow. Okay.
I had actually had that conversation with several of my girlfriends, and they were like, "Yeah, she is creepy. If this was gender swapped, this would be a full-on stalker movie."
Well, of course it would be, but it's
but it's not. It's cute. It's cute because it's from a woman's point of view. It can't be a stalker horror thriller.
It's from that woman's point of view. If it was from single white female's point of view, that's a whole nother movie. But it's from that.
This is like another in another world, in another alternate reality, Hollywood reality. This was actually remade into Fatal Attraction.
You're ridiculous. All right. All right. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is, I miss her narrowing it down. I had to say, okay. I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna go with You've Got Mail. I'm gonna go with You've Got Mail. This is it's a movie. I feel like it ages well 95% of the time, but I feel like it's funny. The chemistry is there. It's beautiful, and it's filled of Christmas in New York City, and it's beautiful, and it's so funny. Dave Chappelle hanging out in the background doing his whole Dave Chappelle thing. I love it.
It's one of those films I haven't seen. It's one of those kind of blind spots I have in my film knowledge. You've Got Mail. I suppose I could take some time to watch. Look, I've reserved Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. If some of you are watching this on Friday, I'm probably in the middle of a movie marathon. I'm going to sit down and watch movies all day. I bought a new chair so I could sit in my office and relax comfortably, because Lindley's not a big fan of Christmas movies, and I will take some time to watch Christmas movies. And I wonder if You've Got Mail might finally make the rotation so I could finally watch it. So many people have spoken how much they enjoy this movie. So I think I will put it on the list and watch it this Christmas once and for all. And hearing you glow about it, I think is another reason why I should finally watch it. So I love Tom Hanks.
Please do. I'd be excited to hear your response on Twitter.
Thank you. I will do it. All right. So then my final choice, my number 5 choice, And it's just a one that I keep away in a special place is Serendipity. I absolutely
Oh.
love Serendipity with Kate Beckinsale and John Cusack. It's actually a supremely funny film at times with Jeremy Piven, with Eugene Levy essentially playing the Rowan Atkinson kind of character in this movie. He's also working at the department store. He's also like the reason why they kind of like connect in this movie. And this all has to do with the fact that they met at a younger age. She's about to go get married to somebody. He's with somebody else, and they have this moment where they kind of realize or sense that they should be together. Serendipity. And they say, well, if it's supposed to happen, you will find this dollar bill and you will return this black glove. And so all these years happen in between, and they somehow find their way back to the same place all these years later at the same time. A really fantastic moment happens at an ice skating rink that's very sweet. And I'm a sucker for that kind of shit. You know, the Outlaw sometimes got a heart. And I love this kind of stuff. And the soundtrack is incredible. Bap Kennedy, Nick Drake, Nick Drake, right? No, Nick Drake. So many great songs throughout that soundtrack. So to me, overall, just one of my favorite holiday rom-com movies.
I totally agree with you. It's a solid movie. I think it's also I don't want to say I realized how gorgeous, because I already knew like Kate Beckinsale is already gorgeous, like obviously. Like she's so stunning in this movie. But I never really saw John Cusack and be like, oh my gosh, until I saw this and I was like, oh shoot. Oh gosh, he is so gorgeous. For some people, it was Grosse Point Blank. For me, it was Serendipity. He's so beautiful. You're right. It's so great for a million and one reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I really wanted to put Last Christmas on this list, but in the end, I had to make the decision to not put it on. All right, what's your number 5?
Yo, I'm going with the classic. This is my true number 1. I was dreading you picking it because I kept thinking if I insinuate it could be this, it could give you a hint what it could be. But this is my true number 1. I actually drafted accordingly around this. It is Shop Around the Corner with Jimmy Stewart. This movie is perfect. It is the perfect holiday rom-com. It's dark when it needs to be. It's light. It's funny. It's beautiful. And the score is really nice. And it's so cute. J.P. Stewart's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. But it's so sweet. And also it came out the same year as the Philadelphia Story. And so it was like the year of Jimmy Stewart and how charming he could be.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny. You chose 4 and 5. The remake and the original.
I'm aware. There's a reason I was like nervous, being like, oh, if I say You've Got Mail, I wonder if he's gonna know.
Great choices overall. Certainly some fun ones. If you guys haven't watched any of those, like I haven't watched You've Got Mail, certainly some fun choices there between Alex and I's list for you to enjoy. All right, let's get into our last category before we wrap up, Alex. Top 5 non-traditional Christmas movies. So I had first pick last, so you get first pick this time. What's your first number 1 pick?
All right, I'm gonna go with. Okay, I know this is a personal picks. These aren't like. So I'm also gonna rate it. I'm kind of similar to Matt Nose, where it comes down to rewatchability, and I'm gonna go with a personal favorite, and I have to say The Family Man.
Oh, nice choice.
Love The Family Man. Nick Cage.
I'm so proud of
you. Tia Leone. Oh my gosh, this movie. Don Cheadle, this movie tugs at the heartstrings in a way you didn't know was possible. Even if you don't cry at movies, you will cry at this movie. Oh my gosh.
You're absolutely right, Alex. I didn't know if you would choose any of that film because of the Brett Ratner situation, but that film works so well for me. Nicolas Cage is so good in it. Don Cheadle as the angel, as you said. The relationship with him and Tia Leone, as you mentioned, the way it progresses when he's in the alternate timeline of his life is just so, I don't know, it's just so moving. It's so real as you're watching it. And you really buy into this idea that he had kind of lost touch with what it really meant to be, a human being. He was so in pursuit of this life of money and luxury and all this kind of stuff, but it really leads you to disconnect from your fellow man or woman in many ways, and him going into this alternate timeline kind of wakes him up to that. And the scene he has when he's trying to kind of semi reclaim his life, when he's over there having that conversation with Saul Rubinek and with the owner of the company, his former boss in another life, it's so essential for him to realize, God, you think this is success. This isn't success. What I've got is success. And it's such a great wake-up call. And of course, what happens afterwards when he goes back to his regular life is great as well. So just a surprisingly damn good movie. What a great choice, Alex.
I'm very proud of it. It's like again, I having just married last year for the first time, I'm kind of going through just like so I'm very new in my married life situation, and it's just
look out, Lucas. You said for the first time, look out, Lucas. There might be a second.
No. I'm getting into. Sorry, I'm married, and like watching this, it just feels so. In seeing the relationships in that movie in particular progress, and it kind of reminds me of my relationship with Lucas and how our relationship has progressed, because we've been together for about a decade now, and so it's kind of crazy how things change, and through career and all that good stuff. So I'm very it's so great.
Schmoedown.
In spite of the controversy.
Yes, in spite of the controversy. Fair enough. Look, I got to cheat. My number one is, of course, Die Hard. You didn't choose it, so I got to choose it.
I knew you were going to do it. I knew you were going to do it.
I'm sorry. I don't want to be a cop-out, but hey, I like this. I love this movie. I think it is a Christmas movie. I thought that it's a Christmas movie for many years.
Absolutely.
And you've heard everything you need to know about Die Hard. So let's move on to your number two, Alex. What's your number two?
I also, real quickly, before I mention my number two, is Die Hard is actually, to me, the most perfect action movie ever made. To me, it's definitely the conversation. But going to my number two is, I'm going to go a little bit darker, even more dark. So I'm going to go with one of my favorite Christmas horror movies of all time, and it is Krampus. This movie is so weird. Toni Collette, Andrew Scott. It's such a weird horror movie, but on top of that, it's a Christmas horror movie, and it's fantastic and corny and weird and fantastic. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
it's great.
Another one that I still have not seen, Alex, so I may have to put that on my list as well. A Krampus viewing must be.
I don't know if you'll like it. It's definitely not to everyone's taste, to be honest. I definitely understand why people don't like it. But
right. I'm not the biggest horror person, but maybe I will enjoy it because I do like a lot of the actors in the movie for sure. All right, so then my number two is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
That was on my list. Yeah.
I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies to enjoy and watch again. Some of the most quotable dialogue you're ever going to hear or enjoy in a movie. Shane Black does an incredible job writing and directing this thing. Robert Downey Jr. is fantastic. And this is Robert Downey before Iron Man. This is raw, out there, really discovering that he can do this again, Robert Downey Jr., and it's a joy. And him and Val Kilmer and their chemistry is just off the charts great. I know people like The Nice Guys as well. This is still my favorite one of those two for so many reasons. And it's a Christmas movie. And Michelle Monaghan is stellar. She never gets enough credit. She is stellar in everything I see her in, and so sweet and charming and beautiful and attractive, and you want to be her boyfriend immediately, no matter what she's in. And that's a rare quality in a lot of actors and actresses. And so it's great to see that work so well in this movie because she gives as good as she gets, and I appreciate that very much.
She's so much more than Ethan Hunt's wife in the Mission Impossible, ex-wife in the Mission Impossible franchise, which is so frustrating. She's so much more than that. I totally agree. I'm going to go with another one. And again, it's not a traditional Christmas movie, but it 100% is. I'm going to go with Batman Returns.
Oh, damn! You took that right off my list. All right,
love it. All right, it's not only takes place during the holidays as one of the best transformation, like character metamorphoses, makeover, I guess, scenes of all time with Catwoman. Sorry, Selena Kyle, and it's everyone in it is really impeccably cast, and it's weird. I also love the world building that Tim Burton creates within this movie. I am not a fan of all of his movies, but especially in terms of world building, but in this one.
Yeah,
It's
1,000%
gorgeous.
agree with you. 1,000% agree with you. It's such a good movie.
Mhm.
I had to take it right off my list after you mentioned it, so I was like, "Damn it, damn it!" This was what I really wanted to throw in. What is it? What is the number one thing that appeals to you the most about that movie? What would you say is the number one thing that like kind of brings you back over and over again?
It's outside of the crazy sexual chemistry between Batman and Catwoman, which is like
True.
obscene. It's like the chemistry. I was like, whew, like you need to leave the room for a minute. It's too much. But I have to say, again, it's the world building. It feels it's like it's such a really great Art Deco world
Mhm.
that Tim Burton really created, and them in the production team that was involved with the set design and the costuming is really really cool.
Yeah.
And it almost reminds me it's because apparently, from what I remember, it's actually the movie that most influenced the artistic style behind Batman the Animated Series because it took so much influence of that Art Deco style and that
Yeah.
color tone,
Yeah.
and with like a lot of these cool colors, and out of nowhere like a pop of red or orange.
Mhm.
So it takes a lot of bold moves, and I respect the heck out of that.
I 1,000% agree with you. My
Mhm.
number 3 is another superhero film, Iron Man 3. I know a
Yes.
lot of people don't give I know it's Robert Downey
Mhm.
Jr. back to back here on my list, but a lot of people don't seem to I see in retrospect now a lot of people not giving love to Iron Man 3 or trying to put it down or
Mhm.
trying to say it wasn't as good as we expected. I know the Mandal the is it Mandalia, the Mandalorian
Mhm.
reveal was controversial at the time. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was gutsy and ballsy. It's another Shane Black film as well, but it occurs all during Christmas, and I enjoy the hell out
Mhm.
of it. I think Gwyneth Paltrow is great in the movie, Downey Jr. as well. Love Rebecca Hall, love Guy Pearce in the movie.
Mhm.
The story that gets told overall, and I think it's great. And the PTSD, the stuff that he's suffering
Yes.
there, trying to figure it all out, all of that is really essential and important in the movie. And I thoroughly enjoy it for that, and I think it is a really good Christmas with a great message at the end of the movie as well about their relationship, and so
Mhm.
that's really important too.
I do agree that it is definitely one of my favorite like action Christmas movies.
Yeah, yeah,
Specifically, I don't think it's a perfect film. I don't think it's one of the best or even top five in the MCU, but it tackles a lot of things that I think that the MCU is scared to tackle, such as
yeah,
PTSD.
right.
Up until Thor and Endgame,
Mhm.
which is considering everything that the characters go through, PTSD is 100% possible for a lot of these very human characters.
Yeah,
And I'm very glad they tackled it with a character because they're not obviously with a family film franchise, they're not going to tackle alcoholism like they do in the comics,
yeah,
obviously. So they're going to tackle it. They're going to tackle another very dark aspect of his character, which is PTSD, and I'm very thankful for it. As as a military brat,
yeah,
I grew up with in my family. I grew up with around a lot of people that were they're coming back, coming back from abroad as experiencing war, and it's horrible. And
mm,
having these experiences, being shown on film in such a mainstream way is very reassuring
I
to
agree.
show how real it is, which
Yeah,
I love.
absolutely. What's your
Mhm.
number 4?
Ooh, okay. All right. So I said Krampus, Family Man, and Batman Returns. Okay. Okay. This is way too hard. This is very difficult. Okay, I'm gonna go with one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's
Okay.
so weird and it does not age well. So forgive me. It is Monty Python's Life of Brian.
Oh, wow,
Woo!
I guess so,
Woo!
with Jesus and Christmas. All right, yeah,
Yes, it is
all right,
100% a Christmas, not with the imagery or anything as
right,
much with the
non-traditional. Yep.
folklore and everything, but it is a Christmas story by definition. And I love me some Monty Python. I must have listened to that Cinephiles episode of Holy Grail like 5 times. I just
Oh,
love
wow.
it so much. I love that episode. And so, with this one, again, I know it doesn't age well, but it's a movie I watch with my family every single year since I was, like, in middle school, so it's very
Mhm.
sentimental as well. It's
Yep.
hilarious.
I love it. I love it. I respect it. The Life of Brian is such a good
Mhm.
film. It's Mary Brianmus, I guess. So there you go. All right. So then my number 4 is a Ryan Reynolds classic, in my opinion. And
Oh
not a lot of
no,
people love it,
no,
but it
no!
is for me.
Everyone knows it.
Uh,
Everyone knows this movie. How
do
dare
they?
you?
Just
Yes.
Friends is my number 4. I love Just Friends. It is one I go back to and watch religiously. I don't even have to be watching it at Christmas. It's such a great listen. As a guy who has always and still does struggle with his weight since he was a high school kid or a middle school kid, this film speaks volumes to me. Being in love with the beautiful blonde girl you can have, all of it just kind of hits all the buttons for me. Then trying to grow up and become someone cool so you can supposedly go back to that town and impress everybody, but what you've actually become is a vapid person that needs to realize that the person inside you is what actually really mattered all along. And also, there's some great funny moments with him and Chris Klein and how he turned out, how Dusty turned out. And of course, Amy Smart. There's great chemistry between her and Ryan Reynolds. I'm always sad that Amy Smart isn't at a higher echelon. She is always solid. She always delivers. She's always up for anything. And she delivers great performances every time. And this film just has, and Anna Faris steals this fucking movie from minute one all the way to the end. She is brilliant as this pseudo Britney Spears type character, and all of it throughout. Just, it really is great. And Julie Hayes is so funny from Airplane as the mom. All of it works so well. And if you haven't given a chance on this one, thinking it's a frivolous comedy, it isn't. It actually is good and has a message about, it's about what matters inside more than the outside in this world. So there you go.
This movie makes me so uncomfortable. I can't go into it. The fat shaming is obnoxious. I can't. It makes me so uncomfortable to watch. I understand it's not. I know it's not a perfect movie, and I know it's all not so much about the fat shaming. It's about how he overcomes those situations and how he learns to kind of stand up for himself in those situations. I understand. Anna Faris, she's great.
Yeah.
Amy Smart, great. They're funny. I can't do it. So we're just gonna move right the F along to my next one. Oh gosh, this is really hard. I have torn between 2 dramas right now. And again, coming down to rewatchability, I'm gonna give you 2 actors and I'm gonna see if you're gonna be able to name it.
Okay.
Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson.
That's In Bruges. That's what you're talking about.
I love this movie. I watch this every handful of months. It's great. The imagery, the folklore, it's beautiful. Ray Fiennes out of nowhere is like a weird aging assassin with a weird moral code. It's really fantastic. But it's such a wonderful film.
Yeah, I agree. It's such a good film, and you're right. Ray Fiennes is stellar. What happens to Brendan Gleeson's journey through the movie is incredible. Even Clement's Poesy, who some of you may remember as a Bobaton, the lead Bobaton there in the Harry Potter films. She's great in this thing, and Colin Farrell, of course, is fantastic. It's a tragic situation, and what is going on through the movie and the journey they all go on is really, really stellar. So great choice. All right, so then my number 5, so got to wrap up here soon, is Better Off Dead, the John Cusack classic from the 80s. Absolutely love this movie. I lost to William Bibiani on a question from this movie, which was such a kick in the nuts. I love this movie to pieces. I defend this movie. It's one of my closet favorite 80s films. John Cusack is great in this thing. He's a guy who lives next door to a dude who's really mean to this exchange student who's come to live with them. They eventually connect with each other, and he goes through all these crazy adventures in this crazy little town. And there's a sweet soundtrack to it as well. And it's all during Christmas and winter time. And they, of course, eventually end up together. But there's a lot of great humor throughout. And I turn to it all the time. Whenever I need to kind of pick up my spirits or whatever, it's one of the movies that I certainly will take off the shelf and watch again. So that's certainly my number 5. And it's I love the movie to pieces.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It's very charming. It's very fun, light. Makes my heart warm watching it. And again, John Cusack.
He's so good,
I'm here
right?
For it.
Yeah, exactly.
He's really funny. He's really funny. I'm not thirsting for him at that point, but absolutely.
Yeah,
that comes like a decade and a half later when he's like a grown adult.
Yeah, fair point. All right, well let's wrap it up there. That was our fantasy Christmas draft. I hope you all enjoyed that. We just selected the top 5 Santas in movie or TVs, the top 5 holiday rom-coms, and the top 5 non-traditional Christmas movies. So hopefully there was a bunch of movies we discussed. Enjoy it. Maybe we introduced you to some movies you didn't know about, and maybe you'll take a chance on this holiday season. Alex, where can they find you and everything you got going on?
You can find me right here on Twitter at real_AlexMack. You can also be part of the Call to Action podcast. We were recently nominated for After Show of the Year by Schmodown fandom, and we're so honored and blessed to be nominated part of this really wonderful group. And also, I host a show called Cinema Bias, and where we dive into a movie that challenges one or both of us. And we are going to be diving into a first watch movie for Drew, which is P.T. Anderson's New Year's party movie, Phantom Thread. So
very curious. Watch out for those mushrooms. All right.
I love this movie.
So do I. I really like that movie. Thank you all for watching this episode. If you're watching it on Christmas Day, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Hope you're taking the time you need to kind of enjoy the day, or if you're having a bit of a tough time, maybe we picked up your spirits with this show and kind of put a smile on your face and helped you get through the next few hours or the day itself. It'd be our honor to do so, and we thank you very much for taking the chance to either watch or listen to this episode. Everything we do here on the Outlaw Nation is available on the Outlaw Nation podcast network as well. In case you don't want to watch our pretty faces, you can listen to it at your heart's content. So thank you so much for everything. Please follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Remember to hit a like. Remember to leave a comment. Let us know what you had on your lists. I think Alex and I would love to read what your lists are down in the comment section below. And remember to share this video on your social media as well. Maybe you share it with somebody who needs a laugh and they'll come and enjoy this show. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you next week with another brand new episode of Mornings with the Outlaw.